good morning to you, brother. I have to be quiet because my son's sleeping next door. So we have the Kurre and Klapow studios.
He lives in the studio?
He lives right next to the studio. I took half of his bedroom to build this palatial Tony Kurre radio station down here, and he's on spring break. Those Indian Springs kids got it good. He gets off today and tomorrow, and then he's off all next week.
This is a mixed use. This is a mixed use venue we have.
This used to be where Grandpa slept.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking. Like, think about it. You've got tenants.
Yeah.
Tenants out there outside the studio.
I'm gonna start charging for rent.
You do. You have a functioning business down here.
I do.
Right. You could open you could do like an Airbnb up top.
I'm thinking about it.
You know, you could do nature tours in the back.
Hey, did you see this thing? I didn't realize this. Talk about Airbnbs. So there are no places to live. The housing market's through the roof. I had a great meeting with John Gray last week, one of our great sponsors at Driscoll Gray, and I was asking about the housing market. I said, "When's this bubble going to burst?" Because we thought it was because of COVID, and no one had any money, and next thing you know, prices are up 40%, and now you can't rent any places. Blah 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 blah. So evidently, Wall Street has gotten involved in this, and he told me about it. He's like, "Here's what's happening. First of all, there's a lot of people wanting to move here because our taxes are lower, and it's cheaper, and they're trying to get out of the rat race. And a lot of people are changing their minds. I don't want to live in the city. I want to live in the suburbs, blah, 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 blah. So that's reason number one. That's a smaller reason. The second reason is now Wall Street, there's this company out of Toronto. I thought it was Redfin. I don't know if Redfin is the real estate company or the actual business itself. But it's on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and it's on the New York Stock Exchange. They own 30,000 single homes in the United States, and they're buying 800 homes a month.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
And so they're buying, basically, they're landlords.
Yes.
So as opposed to the guy who owns 3 or 4 different properties and charges rent and does whatever, blah blah blah, he can do whatever he wants.
It's a company.
They got 30,000 homes, and they're just going to keep buying. The iBuyHomes.com stuff.
It's that.
They're just going to keep, but they're buying any home unseen. Now they're getting in cahoots with some real estate companies who will do coming soon, but before it even hits the market, they're buying the home. So people like myself, or people in their 30s and 40s, maybe people, and for people that are starting new families, like in their 20s, they want to go explore because home ownership is the dream in this country. There's no way to do it. And their rent is roughly 30% higher this year on those homes than it was last year. And so I'm kind of like, well, something sucks here.
Are they doing rent to own or just rent?
No, just rent.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, this is what people want. Gen Z people don't want to own. They don't want
to own because they can't afford it.
They don't want to have the hassle of that. They want to be. They want to know that if their dishwasher goes out, we'll be there to fix it within 48 hours.
You know what that is?
Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, that is, because that's called a home warranty, which you also can buy.
Yeah.
Right? You can buy a home warranty so that people fix anything. No, I mean, I think it's exactly what you said, which is the pricing is crazy, and so people are starting to say, given how expensive it is to own a home anywhere, maybe I should rent. Which the thing that sucks about that is, if you embrace that, like if you go, okay, this is the path I'm going to take.
Yeah.
I'm just going to rent.
Yeah.
So it's like leasing a car, only you don't trade it in.
We all rent when we first get started.
Yeah, but we all rent with that sort of what's the word? The pressure of you need to be saving for a home. You need to be saving for a home.
Because the tax write-offs are great. I mean, home ownership in this country is what helps our economy.
This is why everyone's going to come to Birmingham.
Yeah,
They're all going to flock.
Right now, we're 4 million homes short in this country. They're saying we need 4 million new homes right now to get the market right again. There's too many. There's too many people looking for homes, and I don't know. It's not like there's been an influx of population. There wasn't a population explosion.
What happened?
There's more people. I don't know. And so, per John, he's like, the Fed needs to raise the rate right now. He said we waited way too long on this.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. I said you should do a show. He's like, I'd love to do a show.
I know. He just knows. He's all knowing.
He said it would have sucked. It would have hurt. He said we should have done a year and a half ago. It's 0% right now. They're going to raise it 4 times. Everyone knows it's going to happen. And he said that's the only way it's going to correct things. And then, of course, we'll get into a recession. And he said, but it needs to correct itself because it's out of control. The other thing is if you're charging $1,300 a month for rent on a 1-bedroom, which is what they're getting around here in Birmingham, which is insane, and the bubble burst, the only way it's going to go down is to not have people looking at your property to rent it.
Right.
And so the only way it's going to go down is you're going to have to drop your price to get people to want to rent your property. Right now, as long as we continue to pay $1,300 a month and we're going broke doing it, then it's never going to change. So I don't know what that bubble looks like, but we should do a show with John. Talk about them real quick, and then we'll get into our show.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to him yesterday. John Gray at Driscoll Gray. John is the guy you want in your back pocket. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not he's not a bookie. That's not what he is. But you have this feeling. John will manage your investments, which is great. That's one of the big things he does. But he manages all of your finances. I'm not saying he takes your money, but he helps you navigate things like, should I be putting my home on the market? Mm-hmm. Should I be renting? Should I be, should I be? What should I do? What should I do? And
he had a guy ask him the other day, he was going to sink a bunch of money in the market. He said, don't do it.
That's exactly.
Now is not the time to be getting this market. He goes, well, that's the only thing that I can count on. The market continues to go up. It's crazy. He's like,
don't do it. Right. No. That's what I do. I mean, so go to his webpage, driscollgray.com. John Gray, I've said this, he works with people all over the country. Yeah. He's super knowledgeable about regional differences, even sort of state to state. So he's not giving you this like blanket, this is what you should do. It's this is what you should do given where you live and what your status is. And that varies greatly. We talked about, I mean, I know a bunch of people. I've got friends on the West Coast. I got friends in New York. I've got clients in there and Chicago. And man, they're not quite looking at Birmingham, but they're looking at Austin. Yep. They're looking at Charlotte.
Tampa. Tampa's big.
Tampa.
Phoenix is always big.
Exactly, because what they're going is like, we can do business from anywhere. And one of the things where John's really good is, and I've had these crazy thoughts. John, I need to get out of here. I need to go back to the West Coast. Yeah. And he's like, okay, well, here's what it would look like. Yeah. And then that was 10 years ago. Yeah. I'm not going to show with me on the Kurre and Klapow show. Because I'm not going back to West Coast. Go Bruins.
We used to do this stock contest between Al J and myself, where we had $50,000 and we had to buy like 3 or 4 different stocks, and then whoever had the most money in their portfolio at the end of the run would win like a special gift.
Oh, you did not.
And it was sponsored by an investment company. I forget the investment company. We should do it with Driscoll and Gray, and we always did it in the first quarter of the year, and I won every year. You know why?
Why?
Because during the first quarter of the year, I'd always invest in fisheries. Go with me. What season are we in right now?
Fishing season.
We're in Lent season.
Oh, Lent. Ooh, look at you.
McDonald's, every stinking Arby's. We have the meats, they have the fish. Every place in the world there's fish fries every single week now. People are eating more fish in the 40 days during Lent. It's not all Catholic either, because everyone starts with, the Catholics are doing, I'll eat some more fish. Everyone's eating more fish now than ever for 40 days. Get on board the fisheries right before Lent starts. You'll make $1 million.
That was your free tip from Tony Curry. Can you give me a sports tip too? As long as look at you, can you market tips?
Don't bet on St. Peter's.
No, I'm not. But we'll talk about it on Fox.
Yes.
I'm not betting on them, but it's such a good story.
There's a reason why they're 12.5-point dog to the Purdue Boilermakers. And by the way, I need Purdue to win that game.
Purdue's a 12.5-point dog.
12.5-point favorite.
Favorite, yeah, because yeah.
They're gonna kill St. Peter's.
Yeah.
The
you can only ride it.
Cinderella story is over.
Yeah.
The 15 seed, you had a nice run, but it's time to
come
down to reality. By the way, Doug Eater, who is the star player for St. Peter's.
Isn't he like 35? No, he's the one who shoots 90% free.
He's got the porn stash.
Yes.
He's not.
He
just got himself a big NIL yesterday with Buffalo Wild Wings.
Did he?
Uh-huh.
See?
Isn't that great? A kid from St. Peter's.
It warms my heart. Like, for everyone's complaining, this is what is, like, think about it. This is like freaking American Idol. This is American Idol, right? Yeah. You got a team from St. Peter's. People are like, we never heard where that is. Come on in, so let's see what you can do. Oh my God, these kids can sing. Yep. Let's sign you a contract. Because he wants to win, but even if he doesn't win.
Now, I think the NLI is primarily in that part of the country where St. Peter's is, but it's
Jersey.
And it's probably 20, 30 grand.
It's Jersey.
That's pretty good stuff. All right, we'll talk. Speaking of Gen Zers, there's a brand new dating trend, which is really these new dating trends. These Gen Zers are coming out. We've been there.
Yeah,
you can put a name on it.
Yeah,
but it's the same thing. It's called hardballing. We'll talk about that. It's not what you think.
Okay.
We'll talk about hardballing. The Sweet 16 does.
Could you tell just by the way I look at my eyes what I thought?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about the Sweet 16 a little bit. Benedict Mathurin The video that I sent out yesterday where he's court after the OT win against TCU and he touches the cheerleader's breast. He has reached out to her to apologize.
So he said it was accidental.
He said he didn't realize that she was even there.
I showed you the other.
I don't believe it.
You don't.
Nope.
Now I showed you that other tape.
Yep, the one from the front.
It looked. The one from front looked. I mean, because I was all over it. Well, we'll talk about it, but the other camera angle, it makes you stop and pause and go. You need to understand the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I was outraged, and then I saw the other one, and I was like, oh, now I don't know. Maybe it was accidental. Maybe.
She didn't respond the
that
way
doesn't
I would have
surprise.
thought she would
See,
have.
that doesn't surprise me though. That doesn't surprise me.
When a woman has her breast inadvertently touched. Now I brushed across a woman's breast, and I apologize, and they don't do it. But for her to be on the floor, I was surprised. At least she didn't.
No. It doesn't surprise me.
Of course, she's a cheerleader.
She's a cheerleader. Cameras on, hands up.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk about that. Also, interesting NBA news last night. That was weird. The Miami Heat thing was crazy.
A little difficult times in the front office.
We'll talk about conflicts at work, and also the reason, and I brought this up yesterday, but I want to throw it by you, Vladimir Putin, how we can actually stop him. It starts with one person. We'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes right here on Kurre and Klapow on Tony Kurre Radio. Download the Tony Kurre Radio app. You can hear us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's Tony Kurre with a K, Kurre. And, of course, go to Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. There's over 100 different episodes of everything from Adapter Parish with Dr. Alex Hublin and Dr. Josh Klapow. We've got Dark Side of the Pooch. We got Mission Minor with Michael Coleman from the Jimmy Hell Mission. Livewire Wednesday last night was great. It was all songs about women on AC/DC. There's
really?
They've got like 100
Boy, you
songs.
might have really had to scratch.
Girls Got Rhythm, Touch Too Much, Caught Me With Our Pants. That was great. We did that. Later on tonight, we're going to be doing Blues Almighty with Austin Hanks, which is a great show that runs at noon at 8. The Damon Johnson Show tomorrow. When in Rome with Stuart Rome also runs tomorrow. The Classic Hip Hop Show. A ton of shows. You can listen to them all on demand on wherever you listen to your podcast on Spotify. So check those out. It's fantastic. You can subscribe and then listen to as many shows as you want to. So we got that going on as well. And also, birthdays today, Peyton Manning.
Peyton's 58.
58. He's 46. He's young.
Really?
Uh-huh.
He looks older.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I played football for a long time.
Yeah, I did. And Jim Parsons. I told you recently I just found The Big Bang Theory. I had never seen the show until like a month ago.
It's okay.
And I was like, this is a pretty funny show.
You know,
now, the early episodes are a lot better than the later episodes, but it went for 12 years, that show.
Did
you realize that he's the world's highest paid TV actor?
Really?
You know how old he is? His birthday today.
No.
Take a guess.
He looks young. 40?
He's 49 years old.
He's youthful looking.
Very youthful looking. And he was making over $1 million an episode when they were doing the big. He got paid $60,000 to start, and by the time he ended, he was making $1 million.
That was my son's favorite show.
I can certainly see that.
I mean, he liked it before. It was sort of the same thing. We're like, what are you watching? What is that?
It's a funny show because, for people that aren't obviously as smart as that, we can kind of make fun of them. But it was incredibly well written.
Yes.
It was really, really good. So anyway, we got that going on as well. Anything going on in your world? Anything fun? Exciting?
No.
Okay.
I do. Well, when we get into Putin, I do want to talk about Madeleine Albright's statement. Madeleine Albright passed yesterday. But when we get into Putin today, they released some of her original notes when the first time she met at a meeting with Putin.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
These were her notes, not her public,
Well, the more I read, and again, I try to read both sides of the street. The more I read now is like Russians have lost somewhere between 7,000 and 15,000 troops.
Yeah.
That now Vladimir is actually considering pulling back because he realizes that he can't take over the entire country, but he can take over different portions of that country. And so it looks like I don't know what the situation is. But this story came out a couple of days ago that friends are begging his lover, Alina Kabaiva.
Not his girlfriend.
No, his lover. Now, he was married until 2013. I don't know if this is his, they call her his mistress. So, they have 4 kids together. She's in Switzerland right now with her kids.
Smart.
He shipped her out. And they're persuading her to come back to Russia to talk him into ending
Who
the
is
war.
they? I mean,
Everybody. His
yeah.
friends of Putin's Eva Braun are begging her to go to Moscow to persuade him to end the war as she faces expulsion from Switzerland. People in Switzerland now realize she's there, and they're like, and now they're not a neutral country anymore.
Right.
They're hopping on the
Can
NATO
you imagine
board.
that?
And so they're
Can
like,
you
get
imagine
the
that? Did
hell
you ever
out.
think Switzerland would be like? I mean, I know they're in NATO, but Switzerland is like, okay, this is crap,
Yeah.
and we're out. It's
Yeah, the fact that they're now not neutral anymore should tell you something.
Yeah.
They're kind of like that side of the world's Canada. You know, they
Yes.
just gotta stay out. Sure, you can hide your stuff here. We don't know what's going on. Just don't, you know.
Well, they've always said
No
they've interviewed
guns, no
lots.
nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we don't. We just want to stay out of trouble. We just live our lives over here. We have beautiful mountains. We like to ski a lot and drink a lot and have a good time. Just don't mess with us, and we'll be fine. We're neutral. We're very vanilla. Beautiful country, by the way. Though
Right, exactly, because
I've got a chance to go there twice. Have you ever been to Switzerland? You need to take Jules to Switzerland on like a second
Really?
husband. It's incredible. And go in the summertime.
yeah, I've seen
The
pictures.
summertime is as beautiful as it is in the wintertime. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. So anyway, we always talk about, I think I got a promo or something running one of those bumpers saying, women control the whole world with that.
Yeah, I know. I saw you texting me.
We have created wars over that.
Yes, we have.
I always say, if you really want to get to a man, you don't go through his stomach, you go to his woman. If you really want to get a guy pissed off, or you really want to get a guy to change, you go through his woman. Because if he's in love with that woman, he wants to do everything to please her, he will do whatever she wants, right? Because women rule the world in that aspect, right? The fact that we're talking about sanctions, economic, all these different things, war crimes, all those things, that's not working. But now we're going to his mistress saying, would you please tell your boyfriend to stop bombing Ukraine? Can you help us out here? Thinking that actually could work is just amazing to me.
You know what this is? I mean, this is almost like hostage negotiations. I mean, you think about hostage negotiations and the experts in negotiation when there's a hostage, right? They immediately appeal. They go and they try to create a relationship with the person who's taking the hostages. We've seen a million movies and we've seen it in the real thing. And they try to make this connection and they try to appeal to this other part that has not been engaged, which is them as the human, them as the feeling person, and it makes sense. It's like, okay, we've tried this, we've tried this, we've tried this. The logistics are not working. We know where people are most malleable. It's when it comes to their emotions. Now, it doesn't mean it works every time. But if you're at an end road, that is where you're going to go. I mean, and this goes from Putin to business.
Yeah.
I think about it. It goes from Putin to business. It's we stay logical, we stay focused, it's all tactical, etc. Until we get into a sticking point, and then we go. Let's talk about what's upsetting you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's really important.
They should send Dr. Josh Klapow.
Let's-
That's the interesting thing because there was a group. There was a
Well, go
there was a
ahead.
list. There was a list of all these celebrities who have met Putin.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney did back in 2013 or 2003. Then he went to the Ukraine, and all of them have denounced and said what he's doing is horrible. But they've all met with him. Jane Fonda has been over there. Leonardo DiCaprio met Putin a few years ago, and he's hugging him. And people are like, oh, that's the thing that's interesting about Vladimir Putin to me is he is human, no matter how. And I've met rock and rollers who've got $500 million. And again, at the end of the day, they put their pants on the same way you put your pants on. They may be gold plated. They may have a $700 million yacht, but they're all human. They all do the same things we do. They just have an immense amount of power. And so I would love to get inside of his brain.
So everybody wants to. So here's the thing. I think they should send Dennis. Have they sent Dennis Rodman in? Maybe they're holding back.
Whatever works.
Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is what's really scary is this is all true unless you're dealing with somebody whose mind is not of the same as ours.
Yeah.
We talked about with crazy, right? You see somebody who is crazy and you're trying to figure out why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you hear this all the time, well, why are they doing this? I wouldn't do that. There's no way that I would harm people this way. There's no way that I would manipulate or embezzle. I'm not even talking about Putin. There's no way that I would sabotage my life and my relationship. And you're like trying to understand, but what you're doing is you're projecting your sanity onto their insanity.
Yeah.
And when there is insanity, then it's not playing by the same rules. I don't know Putin, obviously. We know he's KGB. We know he was a spy. We know that he's sort of wired differently, even at that level. But the scary part, and I think this is what a lot of people are talking about, is, if he is a madman, then this stuff's not going to work.
Yeah.
Now, will it work with his lover? Probably not.
See, and again,
Probably not.
Again, when you break it all down, we're all human. Yeah. And you would think to yourself, this is the most powerful man, certainly in Europe. He's got the biggest country.
Yeah.
He's got all these things, all this power. Yet, anywhere in the earth, you can ask a man, what's the one thing that gets you to change your mind? You say, probably my lover, my woman.
I don't know about him, though. I think
the fact that he's been in it for so long, I think you're so desensitized by death and grief. And
yes.
You just don't care anymore.
Yes.
You're just like a robot.
Yes,
you don't
exactly.
Really care. Unless it's something that affects you directly. If someone took out his mistress,
we'd all be in trouble.
Then all of a sudden that life would mean something. And so the funny thing is, though, is we always talk about like two-way streets. A woman can get a guy to change his mind, but a guy can't get a woman to change her mind.
Not.
Like if it was a woman dictator,
we'd all be in bigger trouble.
You can't send her husband to go talk to her.
Women are badass.
They're not going to listen.
No, because they got their own right. We as men, we just don't have we are not the more powerful gender.
We're not.
Nope.
And to your point, and this goes for relationships too. It seems like women are always wanting men to change. They're very crafty about it. They're tricky about it. We could pull the old, well, you knew what you were getting yourself into, or I've always been like this. Before we met, you knew who you were with. Women will subtly try to get a guy to change over a course of period of time. And knowing that he's going to like it, he just needs to see how wonderful this is to change, whatever that change is. Whereas men, I don't think ever do that to women.
So there's two scenarios here. One is and we always recommend. We always recommend you never go this. Don't ever get in a relationship with the assumption that I'm going to change them. Right? That's the kiss of death.
Yep, it is.
If you go in with the assumption that they are not where I need them to be for me, but by being with me, I will change them. You're done.
Yep.
However, the whole trying to get someone to change, there's another path that happens, and I do think this is why in heterosexual relationships, why you see, although you see it not just in straight relationships, the person in the relationship who is changing.
Yeah.
They're evolving. They're thinking more about themselves in different ways. When that happens, then they need their partner to change. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it as a traditional man-woman relationship, women evolve more. They're more emotionally in tune.
Sure.
They make more. So what happens is, as guys, we get in, we find our mate, we connect, we are in a good place. They love us for who we are and where we are right there. And then over time, we just kind of we're on this trajectory of change. It's just kind of this, we're making some a little bit
3-4% grade.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going more evolution, more change. And so then they need us to make the change to be more compatible with where they're at.
But then is it based on who is creating that change? What I mean by this is if a guy changes on his own, that doesn't always work.
No, I mean...
Because I think a woman wants to know that she's responsible for that change. Because that change has to be along the parameters that she finds is within her change.
Not responsible for it.
If a guy all of a sudden stops drinking, stops going out with the guys, stops doing whatever that perhaps she doesn't like, and he's doing it on his own...
No, I think that's... No.
Not always.
I don't think women are looking... I don't think any mate who is frustrated because their partner is not changing is looking for ownership of that. Yep. They just want the damn change.
Yep.
They just want the change. And I do think the biggest problem you have is in any relationship, and you use this, I love this, I can't remember the way you do this visually, this sort of going down the different highways.
Yep.
And the highways are, you do this with your fancy hands.
6 to 5 go on both directions.
That's exactly, and I think what happens is, in an ideal world, both partners are changing in their own unique way, and they're communicating, and it's sort of, it's fitting, right?
Yep.
That's unique. That doesn't happen that much. In fact, most of the time it never happens that way. What it usually happens is one partner is starting to make some life changes. New job, maybe they stop drinking, maybe they want to think about a new way of parenting, whatever it is. In an ideal world, the other partner goes, they're changing. I see that. And they say, I see that you're living your life a little differently here. I want to make sure that I'm compatible. What do you need me to do?
Yeah.
Although you gotta be careful there too. You gotta be careful because this is in particular if you're a guy, if you go, what do you need me to do?
Yeah.
Then the other one goes, if I gotta tell you.
Well, the other thing is you don't want to be left behind.
Now that's a good thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't want to be left behind.
Because if she's making big changes, then first of all we're like, well, fine, she can change if that makes her happy. Then
Yes.
happy wife, happy life,
Which is great.
That's fine.
As long as.
But if he's making the changes, then I wonder if she feels like, well, maybe I need to change. Particularly if you're both overweight or you're both lacking in a particular area. So there was this article yesterday. I talked about it, and to do it alone just fell on its face. But they're called Icks. You know what Icks are?
That's a diseased fish cat.
Okay, there you go. Experts from Bondi Psychology Practice Mind Matters weighed in on the infamous deal breaker previously, which is best described as a sudden but irreversible feeling of disgust towards a romantic interest that leads you to end the relationship. These are things that we thought were really cute,
Oh, we've talked about this.
and then all of a sudden we're
It's
disgusted by it.
Is that what the ick
Yeah,
is?
he's so cute when he sleeps. He makes that little snoring sound,
Yeah.
and then 3
Now
months
it's like
later
I'm
you're
gonna
like you hate
put
it.
an ice pick through your head.
Typically triggered an instant after witnessing some kind of turn-up behavior, the Icks flips physical attraction to revulsion
Yep.
with a obnoxious laugh, a crude remark, or an off-putting eating. But psychologists say the phenomenon is often self-defense mechanisms to protect against rejection, fear of intimacy, or commitment in relationship failures. In other words,
Whoa!
it's not that it ain't cute anymore. It's on you. Most of us want to feel safe with a partner, to trust them, to have open communication, share interests. However, if an unexpected behavior is suddenly turning you off, ask yourself what might be happening for you. Relationship counselors explain that attraction is a flip-flop phenomenon, where something that attracts you to someone today can be the very thing that repulses you tomorrow. Traits take on different meanings, and partnership progresses, and that people who initially find to be fun and carefree can often turn out to be irresponsible, reckless, in more important situations. So they use examples, and I've said this, guys who use umbrellas. Oh, that's so cute. It's raining, he's running out to the car.
Then if they become disgusted by it?
They're like, what are you doing, dude? Guys don't use, we know that. Guys don't. One said, I can't look at my partner in the shower, he looks pathetic. When a guy runs towards a bird and it doesn't fly away, it looks pathetic.
Well, and it was cute before. Like, those are all pathetic.
When I see a guy running for a bus, it's like, guys don't run for buses. That's not a guy thing. Guys don't run down buses. Gay guys do, but not regular straight guys.
But they're saying that this was those.
These are things that might have been cute at one point, but
Yeah. Well, so here's the other thing. I do agree. I think timing is everything. So early like we said, early in a relationship, it's almost like we call it the halo effect, right? Everything is heightened in a positive way. Mm-hmm. So even the bad stuff becomes at worst less bad.
Yeah.
At best, it's cute.
Yeah.
Cute is a good. Look at that.
Yeah,
look at the way it makes a little snort.
Cute things don't stay cute forever.
Folks. Right. Well, exactly.
You can be cute once or twice. Your wiener, she is so cute.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's not.
Because you know why, and I think this is a great insight by these psychologists. As your relationship goes on in time, and as that sort of honeymoon period where everything is, because when everything is good early in the relationship, you're not living into your true values and your true perceptions. Yeah. You are intoxicated by love.
Yeah.
Right? You also there is there's a survival piece there, because if you've really fallen for somebody, you don't want it to not be good, right? You want it to survive, and so your brain literally takes over and says, okay, everything that looks kind of bad, I'm going to discount. Everything that is, I'm going to flip it. In fact, I'm going to go one step further. Now I'm going to discount it. It's cute.
Yeah.
You know, her morning breath. It's so natural, right?
Yeah.
Well, so that works for a while. And if we use a drug analogy, until the drug wears off. Drug usually wears off somewhere between, 6 weeks to 4 months. Then you're faced with reality. And I think this is the biggest challenge, is when you're faced with reality, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so the breath stinks, the snoring is not cute, they looked amazing in the shower, and now they just look real and hairy.
Yeah.
And so you have to change mentally and say, do I love this person for all that they are? Versus, do I love all the things that were attractive and cute to me before? It's a very different, it's the get real piece.
Yeah.
Can I look at this person and say, this is someone I want to stay connected to who has flaws, physical and otherwise, who has things that bother me, but I still want to be with them. And the reason that I think it's the hardest decision is because in that moment is when you should be bailing on a relationship. And most people don't. What I mean by that is it's in that moment where you go, God, that stuff really bothers me.
Yeah, but what is that, again, according to psychologists, it's not really about them. It's more about...
Well, that's exactly
and again,
what I'm saying.
you find this, it's a security thing.
That's exactly
when you love yourself and you're secure in who you are, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to stay with that person if they got some quirky things you don't like. But if it really bothers you that much, then that's a you problem.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And so what happens is, in that moment, instead of saying, this is a me problem, and maybe I shouldn't be here.
Yeah, the question is, why does this bother me so much?
Exactly.
Because when she's telling her friends, they're like, dude, you got it pretty good. Why is this bothering you so much?
Because there is wake up call. There are wake up calls throughout relationships, and it's that problem is in that moment where there is the wake up call. The why does this disgust me so much? Let's just go that way. Why is this snoring disgust me so much? So on the one hand, it's irritating, and I've been dealing with it for 4 months, and it was cute, and then it was tolerable. But the other then becomes things like, I don't really like sort of, he's sloppy. The snoring is just one characteristic. He doesn't pay attention to his body. He's overweight, And so what ends up happening is all the things that you kind of didn't like about the person, that's what I'm saying. It is a you thing, but it's not that you've got issues. Yeah. Issues. It's that you got issues with them.
Yeah.
And so you're left at this really important choice point. And this is where, Jules says this all the time, this is where you start growing up.
Yeah.
And the grown-up decision is, am I going to hang in there, given these things that turn me off, and I'm going to figure out why I'm turned off? Or am I going to say, they turned me off, I'm a grown-up, I'm not staying in here just because it looks so great from the outside?
The one thing that's interesting, and we've done a lot of relationship things on this show. We've been doing the show together for 5 or 6 years. It's the Kurre and Klapow show on Tony Kurre Radio and on Facebook Live every Thursday. And we'll be on Fox 6 coming up here in just about an hour. No matter how many of these things I see, the 4 things that turn off women the most, or the 4 things that women are looking for in men the most, or things that make women go ick, every one of them, every single time, tells me a woman really likes a man's man. They want a man. It's not that they don't want a man who looks vulnerable. They don't want a man who looks. No, just listen to me out here. Okay. They don't want a man that looks vulnerable, chasing the bus, getting locked outside of his home. That's pathetic. A man that uses an umbrella. They don't like men who are emotionally unstable. They don't like men who are naive. They don't mind those qualities. As a matter of fact, they're endearing. It shows he's a true man. If He's a man's man when he needs to be a
But
man's
that's
man.
being an adult. So I know you're using
You
the
can have
man's man.
ferns, you can do everything, but man, if you don't
but-
know how to change the oil in the
But
car,
you know
or you're
what
not
that
willing to drive
is?
her across
That's
country, then you're
that's
a
not
man's
a man's man. I agree with you, but I want you to go broader. That's being an evolved adult.
Yeah.
That's being an adult because you can flip exactly the same thing and put it on traditional female values. A guy doesn't want a woman.
No, it's the same way, because men love women who are very strong, powerful, and independent,
Yes.
but can be incredibly submissive when I need you to be.
But that's having diversity to who you are.
It is,
It's-
and I think in this world we're living in right now, I think the man's man is kind of on the way out,
But I think the man's man
because
is.
we're being told for a long period of time. Yeah, it is
Because
from skinny jeans, and I'm not being stereotypical.
I know.
But from typical skinny pants to men going to more therapy. I'm not saying these things aren't great. I'm just.
But you see where the evolution
But you still
is?
need to be. You still need to be
That's
the guy
called
to protect your
but
woman
that's
when
being,
you're asking.
yeah, but that's just being an adult.
Yeah.
But you don't get to have, and this is the thing men don't like. You don't get to have it anymore one way.
Yeah.
You don't get to just be a protector and be tough and change tires and not have insight to who you are psychologically.
But you need to step up when it's time to step up.
But you
And if that
also
means-
have to do
and
the
that-
other piece.
I know you do.
But
I'm saying, but I think a lot of guys aren't doing those men things anymore. I see a lot more women. It drives me crazy, and I know this is Archie Bunkerish. It drives me
okay.
crazy when I see a guy sitting in the passenger seat and his wife's driving. I'm like, why
Jules
the hell is
drives
she
all
not?
the time. But see, this is the difference. This is the difference.
The man drives.
No, this is the difference.
There's even a commercial out that makes fun of men.
But this
oh, yeah,
is,
my
but
stomach
you,
gets a little
but
queasy.
do you see? This is what makes for a successful relationship. A man who says, "I drive," and is let's just put on the line. Jules is a better driver than I am.
Yeah.
Her vision's better. She grew up in more severe weather.
Yeah.
Right? I grew up on the West Coast. Jules is a better driver. Jules feels more comfortable driving. She's a driver. My daughter has inherited the same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
My son and I can't drive worth spit.
Yeah.
I am not going to raise my arm and go, damn it, I'm a man, I drive. You know why? Because I'm acknowledging from a skill set, you're better,
Yep.
and me demanding that, A, makes me look like an imbecile, B, creates conflict that we don't need to have. And that's why I'm saying, be a man's man, but be an adult. You don't get to rest. When you rest on the laurels of, I'm a man's man, so that means I do these things and I don't do these things. You know what you're telling me? You're immature.
Well, it depends on where you are in your relationship. Obviously, been married for a long period of time.
Yeah.
You understand each other, and she probably doesn't want you to drive because you scare the shit out of her
That's
when you
right,
drive.
that's right.
She's like, I want to drive.
That's exactly. She
but-
would like to.
When we're talking the beginning of a relationship, and that's what we're talking about a lot here, because we're talking about Icks, the first 3 or 4 months, where things they used to do that are cute that aren't cute anymore. Those are things.
That's true.
Repeatedly, women won't say it, but they love a man that'll go out and chop wood all day, but he'll cry at night.
Yes.
As long as he can do both.
But you know what they're saying? And I agree with you. Here's what they're saying, because I want to make it broader. Be an adult. This is what
Yeah.
they're saying. Be an adult. When you're courting, you're not really being an adult.
Yeah.
It's like a romantic novel.
You know what really, I used to have a woman, she moved down here with me. She would cause a ruckus every time we go out to dinner. And, I mean, she would ask for 15 things, and she was Meg Ryan.
Okay.
And When Harry Met Sally. And I'm like, for God's sakes, just order number 3 and let's move on, you know? And, of course, I just get the steak and the mashed potatoes and I'm good to go. Well, every time we went out, there'd be an issue with the waiter. Every time. And, of course, I'm a radio guy. People knew who I was. I didn't want to cause a ruckus. Right. She would make you go tell that waiter right now that I'm not paying for this meal. But and I'm like,
see, that's so.
And so she's like, you're too soft. You're too nice.
Yeah.
You're too nice to people. And I'm like, listen, it works for me.
Yes.
You know, when I'm nice to
See,
people,
I
I
like
kill people
that.
with kindness. It works for me. I get the free meal the next time when you're not here. Okay? Because they remember the fact that I had compassion and I didn't fly out.
Oh, look at you being a wuss.
But she was always, again, she was too much the other way. She was always wanting to,
Yes.
And the one time we had the best sex we ever had
Yeah.
was when we were in an apartment and one of our neighbors was having a party and it was too loud. and it was 3:00 in the morning.
Oh, geez.
We had an early morning coming up, and I just got up and I got pissed off, and I went out there and I said, "Turn that music down." And she hadn't seen that side of me before, and it turned her on. Like she's like, "I've never seen you get so fired up about something like that," and it was on.
But you see,
from that point on, that was being the man's man. Now I did it by mistake, but that was the point where she saw me stick up for something that we both believed in. It was both getting on our nerves, and she really appreciated that. Now, if you're with a woman that expects that all the time, then you're in a relationship, and you're. But I know a lot of men are the same way. It's like, dude, I just want to go out and have a good time. And every time we go away, we have drama. We have some type of issue, and she wants me to correct it. And I'm like, you're not going to tip that driver that much, are you? He was a terrible driver. I just quit.
Right.
Quit. But some women, but that should tell you something about perhaps that man. Maybe that's not the right fix. Maybe she needs a guy to be more assertive, if you will.
But you see where you're going. See, now you dialed it back. Now you're calling it assertive.
Yeah.
I don't like giving people in relationships, if I'm going to give relationship advice, the wrong perception. I mean, this is, again, you can say this in any couple, any gender, any sexuality, it doesn't matter. When there is this extreme, they are the sexy ones, they are the intimate ones, they are the passive ones, they are it's all this. Mm-hmm. They are the aggressor, they are the take charge, they are, and they only have those qualities, or those are the only qualities that come up, your relationship is doomed.
Yeah.
What every healthy relationship needs is the partner's ability to play the whole portfolio.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but otherwise you're letting your partner down. Like, there are times, again, we're adults. We are adults. Adults have to be able to be courageous, be vulnerable, be sentimental, be strong. Mm-hmm. Tuck that shit in and let it all out. Like, and that's the thing, you're right. I do understand this. Historically, men have been told, tuck it all in and be tough. Women have been told, be nice and soft and don't speak too much.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Neither of those things work. I think part of what you're seeing right now is both sides are kind of like, if you will, they're transforming. Mm-hmm. And it's clunky.
Yep.
But if you look at the most successful people in business, in sports, in relationships, are icons. If you really dissect them, they are the ones whose personality range is much broader.
Yeah.
It's much broader. You got to get there. And let me just quickly, there's a lot of fear behind that. Mm-hmm. What is it going to take? Oh God, I've always been this way my whole life. And so what you say is, I've always been this way my whole life. That's who I am. Don't pull that bullshit on me.
Yeah.
I've always been this way my whole life. I'm afraid of making that change.
There you go.
That's a big difference.
This is the Kurre and Klapow show. Coming up here in just about 55 minutes, we're going to be on Fox 6 this morning talking about Cinderellas as we get ready to celebrate the Sweet 16. St. Peter's, of course, is being that 15 seeds got through. We'll talk about that and how that affects our entire lives. We'll get into that coming up here. And, of course, anytime you want to hear the Kurre and Klapow show, we got like 1 million podcasts. Go to Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. Search Tony Kurre Radio, Tony Kurre with a K, Tony Kurre Radio on Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast. You can hear all of our shows, including Blues Almighty, the Damon Johnson show. They're fixing to go back on the road with...
saw that.
Oh, by the way, I saw a couple things. Willie Nelson is
I
opening up
saw
for ZZ Top. I posted that, which I thought was crazy. Austin Hanks, of course, is good friends with Billy F. Gibbons. I said, are you part of this? He goes, I hope to be, so we'll see what happens. And then, did you see Hank Williams' Jr. wife? Died yesterday.
Oh.
They don't know how old she was. She was in her 50s or 60s. He met her at a concert in Washington State. They got married.
What do you mean they don't know how old she was? Like, no.
They have no clue. He's 72, but they have no idea how old she was at a spa. She was having some type of outpatient procedure, and she passed away yesterday. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Hank Williams Jr. I've told you my Hank Williams Jr. story a couple times. Whew. Yeah, no man could get after it. Speaking of Gen Zers and relationships, there's this new dating thing, and really it's not a new dating thing at all. It's called hardballing. You want to take a stab at what that is? It's really what a lot of us should be doing from the get-go. We've been doing it for years. It's the opposite of ghosting, I guess. It's when right off the bat in a relationship, you tell the person what you want, what you're willing to put up with, and what you won't put up with. Right off the bat. It's not, there's no, let's date 3 or 4 times and see how it goes. Yeah. It is incredibly non-passive, It is, here are these are the things I like. These are the things I expect of you. And if you can't do it, then this is a one date. The hell, we'll stop before the dessert starts. Which is interesting because this is a Gen Z thing, which is 24 and under. The reason hardballing seems to be such, oh, wow, that's a great idea. I don't have to go out with someone 4 or 5 times before I realize that he's such a piece of shit. Is because Gen Zers are the ones that have muddied the waters up so much with dating apps and sending pictures and ghosting. That's where all these damn dating terms are coming from the Gen Zers. The snow crabbing, I can make up anything you want. I don't even know if snow crabbing is dating. The snow crabbing, the jellyfishing, all these different things that they're doing to each other because they're all playing games.
Yeah.
All of them play games. We all played games when we're in our 20s. That's what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're sitting there at the age of 56 like I am, I ain't playing games. You're still playing games. You just don't play them at the same...
Yeah, but you know, that's so interesting. We all played the same games.
Yeah.
But now there is more, technology allows us to play the game longer and more sophisticated, not healthier.
Oh, yeah.
But you couldn't get away with it before technology.
No, there's a lot of different ways to play the game.
That's it. So it makes it more complicated in terms of what the message is that you're sending.
Imagine dating, if you're younger right now, and I know we get some younger viewers there on Facebook. Imagine dating where all you had was a dial-up telephone.
I'm sorry, you have to explain what that is.
Got a phone that's plugged into the wall, and you can't take it with you where you go.
It's a landline.
That's it.
It's a landline. They know landlines.
If you wanted to go date somebody, you had to go see them, and if you wanted to talk to them in a family of 6, first of all, you had to have permission to use the phone, and you couldn't be on the phone. Do you remember those old storylines where? You know, she's still on the phone. Yeah, she's
3 hours
for 3 hours in her bedroom.
Get off the damn phone. This is before call waiting.
Or you're a part of it. There was no call waiting. Or you're on a party line with your neighbors, where 3 different families shared the same phone. Could you imagine?
The other thing is, we're gonna get super old.
We had to work.
Well, yeah, because here's the other thing. This was before cordless phones.
Yeah. The only way to meet somebody was to go to a large group of people, and it wasn't speed dating. It wasn't a Tinder convention.
It wasn't primitive. Sounds like so.
It was. That's why we always said you meet people at the grocery store. You meet them in laundromats because there was a lot of people there. Because the more people you got there, the better choices you have to pick. Or you met them at church. Now it's like you can meet anybody anywhere. Hell, I got a text this morning from some woman in Pelham that wants to get up and hook up with me.
But you also got to see. Like that's the other thing. The safety we have now. Think about the safety. You had to, if you wanted to see somebody and interact with them, you didn't get any pilot testing, which now pilot testing is just a video call.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I mean, think about that. Think about getting there, right? You had seen this person at school or wherever, seen them from afar. You got a picture of them from somebody who had a picture of them. So you had those 2 things in your mind, but you never really met them. You're looking at, oh my God, wow. And then I saw, and they say that she's this, you know, and then, okay, now we put it all together and made a phone call. Let's connect. Mm-hmm. Then you got to spend all the time, particularly if you're younger. Someone's got to drive your ass there. You can't even, right? So you can't do any of this independently. None of this independently unless you're over 16 and have a car. And then think about it. You get there. And it is, to some degree, like a blind date. But even now in a blind date, at least you got Tinder, and you can see videos, and you can do the profile thing. And you get there, and I'm sure you've done this too, and let's go young. This is not when you're 24 and 25. You get there, and you're like, oh, this is not what I thought. They don't look quite the same. Yeah. They don't act the way that my imagination had them acting. But now my ass is stuck here. Till mom picks me up.
From the movie theater.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. You would think dating should be a lot easier now. It's easier, obviously, to find.
No, but you know the problem is volume. No, it's volume. That's the problem. It's like fleet. It's exactly like social media and YouTube.
The only way
there's no sifting.
The only way I could find out about a girl back in high school was to call a friend of mine who had dated her.
Yes.
Or hope my mom
primary
and dad
sources.
Her mom and dad's.
It's like journalism.
Because you knew nothing about them. You know what their grades were. You know what their likes were. Now you can just Google some girl's name and you can see everything. Every picture she's ever had. You can see what she looks like.
I love hardballing. as long as it's done, because I think this is a good relationship example. The problem with the term hardballing is it lends itself to do exactly the way you did. All right, my name is Josh, and if we're going to be together, here's what I want. I want you to be compassionate. I want you to have these political beliefs. I want you to think about having a family, and I don't want to tolerate any passive-aggressive crap. Like, the problem with that is if you're kind of going in on the first date or early on with that sort of aggression, you're just going to, yes, you're shooting straight, but you are going to turn somebody off. You absolutely can hardball it in a compassionate, polite, socially appropriate way. Brene Brown, my favorite, always talks about clear as kind. Clear as kind. Tell it to them straight. But I've seen a million examples where tell it to you straight, they go, okay, here's what it is. This is what it's going to be. And the problem with that is now you make yourself look very unappealing and not compassionate.
One of our great shows, When in Rome with Stuart Rome. If you pull up When in Rome, make sure you put with Stuart Rome on it because there are other When in Rome podcasts, believe it or not.
But there's only one with Stuart
Rome. But there's only
Rome.
one with Stuart Rome. He picks 5 or 6 great classic rock songs. We have a theme. I was trying to get him to do spring break theme this week. Last week we did St. Patty's Day. I think St. Patty's Day we did a light theme when we did the light change, the daylight savings thing. But we'll see what he comes up with today. And of course that show will air tomorrow right here on Tony Kurre Radio. But you go to Spotify and listen to all of our past episodes. You can listen to Kurre and Klapow. Go to Spotify, search Tony Kurre Radio. It's free. And you can hear every one of our shows we've ever done. There's over 100 of them. It's fantastic. It's great. Woodhouse Day Spas, birmingham.woodhousespas.com. Birmingham.woodhousespas.com right there in the Summit next to Saks, 905-7676, 905-7676. All right, so I think it's interesting when I was working for the man, I'd go home and I wasn't running the show like I am with this business and I could turn work off. I can't turn work off, particularly since I've got a business that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we got all these shows and all these cool things. It's great. There's pluses and minuses, pros and cons. But as part of that, you're hiring people on, you're bringing people in, you're taking people out. And normally, most guys aren't confrontational. We don't like conflict.
That's a good
we
point.
try to diffuse it as quickly as we possibly can.
Or avoid it.
And move on. And sometimes that creates a little treasure chest of resentment and it can blow up. Certainly in relationships, that's the point. I think most guys who have gone through divorce will sit there and say, yeah, I wish I had said a little bit more. But when it comes to work people, eventually there's going to be some friction.
That's a good phrase.
Yeah. So I had a startup. This business will be 3 years old in April. We've gone through a lot of growth pains. We've thrown a lot of wet spaghetti up against the wall. We've had some incredible dialogue about where we want to take this business, our mission statements, all those different things. And in turn, we've failed many, many times. I don't look at it as failure. I look at it as a learning experience. You're either successful or you're learning.
You should be a motivational speaker.
Thank you very much.
That's really good.
You can look at it as a failure.
Absolutely.
And every successful person has had a million failures, but it's really like, and if you don't learn from those failures, it is a failure. If you're learning from those failures, then it's a learning expence. You can use it on Instagram.
No, you need to go on the circuit.
Use it on your IG today. But then when you do have some friction, then sometimes you run into that person who says, wasn't that great? You know what I'm talking about? Wasn't that great? I don't believe you can really grow unless you have some friction. We have to have some fighting. We have to have some infighting. We're two totally different people. We have the same vision. We have the same statement. But, you're seeing things the way I'm not seeing them, and I'm seeing them the ways you're not seeing them. And sometimes it's good just to have a knockdown, drag-out fight and get through it. And then I'm like, yeah, not go to bed angry. So you can forgive, but you never forget.
No, you don't.
Because we got this brain, it doesn't forget things.
That's right.
There's no,
Men
in Black. I can't sit there and hold the light in front of your face and you forget it. So I'll always remember it. I can forgive you.
Yes.
But I'll never forget it. And you shouldn't forget it because history may repeat itself. So that scares me a little bit when people say friction is great. I've had 2 employees here that are like, we're going to not see things. First of all, when they say that to you, you're like, oh, God, what are they going to bring? We're not going to see things eye to eye all the time. And then I'm like, you don't need to tell me these things. I realize that. We're 2 totally different people. We have different ideas. I've got this business, it's my business. I want to run it my way. But I've been very, very adaptable and very open. Adaptive Parish on Tuesday nights. I've been very open to ideas. Listen, I got to provide food. and shelter and things for my family, I'll do whatever it takes
Agreed.
to make that happen. If you've got a better idea, it's like my board of directors. You tell me what you think, and I'll look at it. And if financially it's something we can pull off, then I'm wide open for it.
I love that.
But there was a lot of friction in the NBA last night. Explain what happened, because that wasn't between teams; it was on the team, right?
Oh yeah,
There was some frustration going there.
yeah. So I mean, Miami went on or not Miami. Blank. Who are they playing now?
I forget. I just saw the.
It was they went in the third quarter. It was a 19-0 run against Miami. God,
Yep.
what am I? Sorry.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler. Timeout. Jimmy Butler and Udonis Haslam. Sorry. There was, and we've seen this. We see this in timeouts. There's a little bit of jarring, and it's a team meeting at an office, and we're voicing different opinions.
This is seeing a family arguing at a Walmart as opposed to arguing at home.
Let's just say in the beginning, it's not a knockdown. Okay, there, a little argument, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And then it just escalated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it escalated to the point where Spoelstra, the coach, got into it, and it was interesting because they interviewed him afterwards when it was all settled. They said, what's going on? We were deciding where to go for dinner afterwards. But he got into it, and he got into the mix with Butler. And he lost it. He threw his clipboard down and he got after it. And it turns out, I mean, again, if you talk to him, and he was the boss, what he was saying is, we're better than this. We're better than this. We're bickering at each other, and I had enough. I had enough of the fighting. I had enough of the BS. We got our asses kicked in the third quarter. We should be playing better, number one. This is what he said. A, we should be playing better, obviously. But B, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it takes a while, I think, for a coach. Usually players will separate each other and they're kind of bickering and they separate it. But this was the parent who lost it.
Yeah.
This was the parent whose kids are fighting. Knock it off. Yeah. Knock it off. And then the thing. But what was interesting to me, and the reason I texted you about it is everybody lost their shit.
Yeah.
Usually the coach and the players don't all lose it at the same time.
On a sideline. During a
timeout against each other.
Yeah. After a game in the locker room, absolutely.
But and that to me is an interesting thing. Because you talk about sort of friction is good. Time and place mean everything. B, that kind of friction, the kind of fighting, that's not good. It's not good. It's not healthy. Having a fight in a relationship is not healthy. Having conflict, having differences of opinion, having heated differences of opinion, but fighting, calling names, throwing things down, making absolute statements, that is not, and then afterwards you're like, oh, so glad we got that off our chest. That didn't do your relationship well.
Yeah.
It didn't, and I think a lot of couples misinterpret that because they go from one side or the other. Then they go, well, I need to avoid it at all costs. Mm-hmm. No, you have to be able, this is the hardest thing for humans, you got to be able to get into a difficult situation and a conversation and a back and forth where you feel your emotions are they're going, mm-hmm. You're getting hot under the collar, it's going to think, and you have to be able to use the words of Tony Curry, you got to be able to, in that moment, check it back, which is very different than avoid it. Because if you, in that moment, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yep. This is where the treasure chest of resentment builds up. You have to go through it and say, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm feeling. I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with that. Where do we go from here? Be curious. Be focused on problem solving. I know that sounds easier said than done. It is easier said than done because the reason we don't do that, the reason we avoid, and the reason that we get into nasty fights, totally evolutionary. Lizard brain. It's complete fight or flight.
And to your point, to ensure that you don't continually have these issues, I think a lot of times both people realize they probably said some things they shouldn't have. They raised their voice. Maybe they threw some things. We always talk about makeup sex, which is great. But then we haven't discussed it.
There you go. That's a good point.
Let's get back. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have raised my voice. I apologize. And you're apologizing, and that's great. And she's like, I know, I said some things too I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. You hug it out. You do go to bed. You're not angry, but nothing's resolved.
Right.
Like, okay, did we resolve what we were actually talking? Because it's just a matter of time before it comes up again. So at that point, you're like, I do love you. I'm sorry. So now let's pick a time tomorrow after lunch.
Right.
Let's let it cool off a little bit. It's okay, totally cool off, because usually we always say sleep on it. Let it cool off, and then let's sit down at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, and let's talk this out rationally and see if we can find common ground.
And if we
sometimes
can't,
you won't.
that's the other point.
Yeah.
I think that's the other point. Is there are times, because I see couples will get frustrated, we should be able to work this out.
Mm-hmm.
So you've done all the right things that you just said. You've checked it back. You've owned up to your mistakes. You've apologized. Let's find a good time to sit down and let's sort of talk this out. And the problem you can run into is you start talking it out and it starts coming back again because you see things differently. And now you're getting frustrated and they're getting frustrated. And, particularly if you've been with someone a long time, that can happen repeatedly. And I think the next conversation has to be at some point, either A, are we ever going to be able to resolve this? And you have to make a hard decision. Maybe it's no.
Yeah.
Okay, what can we both do to better manage it, right? Because we're not going to make it go away, or we can't make it go away. But you have to be in sync with your partner on that. You can't say, this isn't going to go away, so it is what it is, and so you're just going to have to live with it.
Yeah.
Now, you can say that. The problem is, they may say, oh, that's great. Since you decided that it's not going to change, and that I just have to live with it, no, I don't, I'm gone.
We see that a lot with, and I'll use as an example, the guy who comes home drunk.
Mm-hmm.
She gets really, really angry. She's pissed off. The next morning, you kiss and make up. And the guy's like, whew, okay, good. It's good.
Right.
Nothing said about it again. I don't like what you did, blah, 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 blah. And then 3 weeks later, he's doing it again. And it's going to ramp back up until eventually she's like, okay, how are we going to fix this? Or how are we going to resolve this? And the other thing is parenting. Because
that's exactly, yeah.
The wife's taking care of the kids all day. Fun day, comes home from a long day at work. He's undoing everything, every behavioral aspect that you've tried to instill in the kids all day long. I'm seeing it with my ex-wife right now because she
yes, in divorce, it's a huge
she
yes.
a lot different than I do.
Yes.
And so sometimes the kids will go to her place and they act differently.
You know what they
That's
are?
the way Dad does it.
They become, I love your kids, and
Yeah.
I do this. They are like little rats in a maze. And so there's an experiment. They're going over, and for a week, they're under different, what we call reinforcement contingencies.
Mm-hmm.
And they come back with that.
That's why I love coming over.
Right, well, they come back with that, and you're watching them, and they literally have to make the shift because they're still under, this is what happens, and they come back. It's really hard in a marriage. It's twice as hard in divorce because you got them separated and they're doing their own thing.
Yeah, and you're not backing each other up.
Yeah, that's called, yeah. We want to go for adaptive, what is it? Healthy and adaptive co-parenting time.
Exactly. All right, don't forget Southern Precision Staffing, one of our great sponsors. They sponsored the Livewire Wednesday show last night. We did a Livewire Wednesday show. It was all AC/DC songs about women. It was great. We had a whole lot of Rosie on there. We got after it. It was great. They are a wonderful staffing company. They do construction or anything else, really. They're right here in Hoover, Alabama, just like Tony Curry Radio is. But they serve the United States of America, and, of course, we serve internationally as well. And good morning to our Ukrainian friends, by the way. We have a lot of Ukrainians listening to Tony Curry Radio. It stills my heart, warms my heart to know that, obviously, I can't pick up a gun and come your way, but to know that you're actually listening to a little piece of the United States while you're doing whatever you're doing over there, and our thoughts and prayers continue to go out there. That's great. Our numbers are through the roof in the Ukraine right now, and in Russia, too, because I know there's a lot of Russians that aren't into this war as well. But Southern Precision Staffing does it all. 205-682-2828, 205-682-2828. But your word, your handshake still means something. Check them out. They're fantastic, proud sponsors of Livewire Wednesday. We're going to be on Fox 6 in just about 30 minutes. We'll be on with Toy, and we're going to be on with Mickey and Dubs, and we're going to be on with Janice Rogers. Looking forward to talking about the Cinderella story. Speaking of the devil, we do have St. Peter's getting ready to take on Purdue. My bracket looks really good. I'm 15th right now to like 1,000 guys. If
Really?
Purdue makes the Final Four, I've got a good shot at it. First time in a decade. They're a 12-point dog. We talk about Cinderella stories, and they're great stories.
Yes.
We had the question, will a 16 ever beat a 1 seed? We had that question for 100 years, and of course that's obviously happened. I will say this. You know, we're not talking 11 on 11 here. We're talking 5 on 5.
Right.
If one guy gets really hot, or two guys get really, really hot, and one team's just having a bad shooting night, and of course you're playing in these huge arenas where the depth perception is different.
And it's one game. It's not 2 out of 3. It's one game.
You're talking 40 minutes. You're not taking past 2 out of 3.
Right.
You're talking 40 minutes. And if you can just go lights out and shoot one half really, really hot, maybe it's enough to hold on. So that lends itself to the Cinderella idea. I love the Cinderella story. I'm not poo-pooing up. But you're also talking about 358 basketball teams. You're talking about the best 68. So you're not talking about like the worst team in college basketball.
That's a really good point.
You're talking about the best 68 teams in college hoops. You got into the dance because you're a good basketball team, and on any given night, you can shoot lights out. And so, the Cinderella story is alive and well. It's great. You'll never see a 15 seed, I don't think, make it all the way because it's easy. It's not easy, but on any given Sunday, any given Saturday, any given game, you can win one of those games. But to win 6 of those games in a row
that's the 5 out of 7.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the mentality is just statistically as you go on, given where you're seated, if the seeding was correct, statistically you're more likely to play back to where you were seated.
Yeah.
And so I mean, beating the odds means,
and that's why it's probably one of the most pure playoff systems, if
I love
it in all of sports. We'll see wild card teams in the National Football League win Super Bowls. We'll see baseball teams that won 90 games playing teams that won 108 games because they're playing a best of 7 series, make it to World Series and win World Series. In this particular case, we probably will never see a Cinderella, a 15, a 12, a 13, a 14, certainly not a 16, win a national title. And people will like, well, that's horrible. Why we play? Well, because they're knocking off some of these other teams because you have to win 6 games in a row against these other teams that are the best teams in college.
Well, and you say that again. You have to win 6 games in a row.
Against the best.
Against the best. Not within your division where of the 6, 3 are relatively easier. And not only are these the best, but they're the best playing, jacked up, playing at their best, hopefully, because the stakes are so high. I mean, that even a number 1 seed, if you flip it the other way, when St. Peter's beat Kentucky, oh my God, what happened? Well, Kentucky can have a bad night.
Yeah.
North Carolina can have a bad night. The Bruins will never have a bad night. But other than that, I mean, that's the other thing is if you even take the top seeds, they've got to win 6 games in a row, which is not easy in basketball, A. Mm-hmm. B, again, it's 6 games in a row where increasingly it's against better and better teams, and you still have to win, and it is one and done.
Yeah.
This is what I love. It is why I love this, because if we're going to watch something, I don't like 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Again, you know me. I love NBA and I love the series and the fight but this is why we're all, many of us, we're drawn into the last. This is why the ticker tape is 3 minutes left. Let's watch what's going to happen.
To take nothing away from St. Peter's, it's been a great run. But I mean, they got fortunate enough that Murray State won their first game, so they're playing Murray State their second game, so they got through. Kentucky's got the propensity. We've seen that. John Calipari's only been to 1 Final Four in the last 9 years. 10 years ago, he won a national title. I'm starting to get to the point where I don't even know why he's still at Kentucky, because I'm sure Kentucky fans. It's like Nick Saban going 10-3 every year. It's not good enough.
Right.
You're at Alabama. 10-3 is not.
No.
It's not acceptable.
Not in Kentucky.
You can lose 20 games if you want, but you are expected to go to at least a Sweet 16, Elite 8, or a Final Four every stinking year. So when I saw that matchup, St. Peter's like, this is one of those tricky games. I think Fairleigh Dickinson one year beat Kentucky in the NIT.
Yep.
They are highfalutin. We don't want to be here. Why do we have to play this team? Mm-hmm. We should just be instilled into the Final Four every single year. Well, guess what? It ain't happening. I don't know if that's coming from the coach. I don't know if that's coming from the players. They're all going to be making billions of dollars in the NBA anyway. So, but I think that Cinderella story comes crashing down.
Well, and they're not yet. Yes.
So what are we talking on Fox 6 today?
Why do we love Cinderellas?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make
because they're hot. They wear nice shoes.
That's right. I'm gonna make a pivot there. I hope it doesn't take us on because we didn't talk about this. The Juwan Howard thing. Mm-hmm. The Juwan Howard hugging the Tennessee player who just lost it right after he's and you made this point. This is what I love about this tournament, it is a reminder to us. You see the NCAA commercials all the time. X percentage, I don't know, 3% go on afterwards. So here's a kid from Tennessee. He's a guard. He's short. Statistically, he's probably not going to go on. As you said, it was his last game. They played their hearts out. And at the end, you see this. And as a psychologist, I mean, you see the realization.
Yep.
You see it wash over their face, and he lost it.
If you're the Tennessee coach, does that bother you just a little bit?
That he lost it?
No, that he was hugging Juwan Howard.
Well, this is what I was saying.
I thought it was a great moment.
It's the problem is
Juwan Howard probably shouldn't be coaching because he sucker punched it up.
That's exactly well that
the fact that he got suspended for the rest of the season, but not the postseason. I'm like, okay, that's weird.
But that's what it is.
But
if Juwan Howard didn't have that,
that'd
history,
be like my wife hugging my neighbor when she's down.
No, but I'm okay. Here's why I'm okay with it. Here's how I would have been okay with it. Juwan Howard played in the league. He was part of the Michigan team. Yeah. He's been there.
And he's a celebrity.
And he knows this. So in that way, it was totally appropriate. Like, it makes sense, because not every coach was a relatively recent collegiate player and NBA player.
True.
The problem we had with Juwan Howard is exactly what you said, which is you're suspended, you sucker punch another coach or whatever, and you're suspended for the season. And then, I wasn't why I was, wait, I thought you suspended for the season. Well, tournament's not the season.
I'm watching. Wait a minute. What are you doing back?
That's good lawyers. That's good. You're a good agent lawyer.
Yeah, there's some liability there. All right, Kurre and Klapow Show. If you missed any of the show today, you can go podcast it on Spotify later on this afternoon. Wherever you see or listen to your podcast, go to Tony Kurre Radio, Tony Kurre with a K, Tony Kurre Radio on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. We have over 100 different episodes of When in Rome with Stuart Rome, which I'm recording today. Mission Minded, I did a great show with Michael Coleman yesterday. It's When You Keep Your Mind, Your Mission, Your Mind's a great show. The executive director of the Jimmy L Mission. Adapter Parish with Dr. Alex Hubline. And I think Dusty Rivers is going to join you for a show, by the way. I think he's watching this morning, Dusty Rivers. He's heading to Dallas.
All right, man.
He's like, I want to join the show.
Join us.
Dr. Josh Klapow. Then, of course, Dark Side of the Pooch, which I'm also recording today with the Damon Johnson Show, Blues Almighty with Austin Hanks, and, of course, also the Classic Puppet Show. Good days. You can watch and listen to all the episodes on Spotify or check it out. And download the Tony Kurre Radio app. It's free. It takes you 5 seconds. I'm not going to follow you. Send notifications. Classic rock and roll 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And join us here in just about 15 minutes on Fox 6 this morning right here. And thanks to WBRC and that fine staff for having us on. They're cool enough
we love
to
them.
Understand that Tony Kurre and Josh Klapow can bring them serious ratings. We're happy to do it for you.
Including when you say foreplay.
Exactly. Have a great day. Thanks.